online store until she came across me, and then I connected her with Sasha, and all of us together sort of said, okay, well, why don't we do it this way? And that's how it came to be.
Okay, it's good. And all the proceeds go to domestic violence support charities?
Not all of them precisely, but we are committed for at least 10% of them to go. Right now, it's more closer to 50%, but we have within the corporation charter, because we are a Canadian corporation, and so within the charter of the business, we have it written in that a minimum of 10% always will be going into the domestic violent actions and so on. But the way that we are planning to do it is through things like microloans. So once we do get the profits together, what we want to do is create a series of microloans that women can apply for, but that they do have to pay back. So things like the girlfriend's grocery loan, where it's basically $20 that you take out until payday sort of thing. And then we have the bigger ones that will be escape and establishment loans, where they would get the money that they need to escape and establish themselves, and then 2 to 3 years later, after going through the programs and so on and getting established, they start to pay it back.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, because we haven't seen a whole lot where charity actually works to empower. And we feel that by doing it as a loan instead of charity, it's not like you come and you get money and then it's kind of like the idea that we had behind, you know how it is with college students that are on a free ride. Tends not to take it as seriously as the ones who are either paying it for themselves or have put into it themselves. So along those same lines, we feel it's more beneficial to offer a loan program where they can do what they need to do, but it's not just free.
It's along the lines of you give a man a fish, you feed him for one day, but teach him how to fish, you feed him for life. So
exactly. Concept and quality. And we were inspired to be a social enterprise. So we don't want to be completely about the charity, but we also want to be a profitable business. You know, that we are a contender in the field, so to speak, of the fashions that we do carry. So there's the two sides of it. Because they are absolutely gorgeous. And we do deliver to Australia, and that's another thing. All of the funds that are collected in Australia will go back to services within Australia.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a look. I looked at some of the, I liked some of those things.
Oh, good. I mean, the problem is, much as it is in Canada, is with the shipping. We have made it a flat rate shipping for items up to $350, but if you love us as much as going to buy $350 worth of clothes, we'll give you the shipping for free. So we can try and make it, yeah.
About $350.
It's kind of that easy. Or if you love them and you're going to wear them that much, might as well bump it up a little. But that was the and again, that's, anyways, we're at 5 o'clock, so I'm going to introduce you and we'll get going here.
Okie dokie.
Start broadcast and hit OK. Awesome. And here we are live online with Trish Springsteen. And Trish and I met a few years ago when I was doing another similar online virtual conference. That one was called but I know it was in February, and I know that it was an all-day conference with 6 speakers, and we met that February, and we've been in touch ever since. And I've always admired her courage in talking about a variety of different issues. And she's a public speaker, and not only a public speaker, but a teacher of public speaking. Somebody who is quite confident in the words that she uses and the voice that she has, but also in helping others to find that voice with themselves. So that's why I'm so excited to be able to introduce Trish Springsteen to the Free to Fly online conference and fashion show sponsored by the Freebird Project Shop.com. Thanks so much for joining us, Trish.
Hi, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here. Absolutely great project and a great place to support, and absolutely enjoying being able to have the opportunity to share my passion with everybody.
And and your passion definitely is communication and using the spoken word to reach people and to influence people. And I know that you are a Toastmaster, as am I. Of course, you are in Australia. And for our Australian audience out there tonight, I do want to make it clear that when you do make a purchase from the freebirdprojectshop.com in Australia, that the percentage of proceeds that are to go towards domestic violence victims will go towards those victims within Australia. So that gives you a little extra incentive. You know, it's not quite buying locally because, of course, we can't help that these gorgeous fashions come from Bali, but we can at least make sure that the proceeds do land somewhere within your country. So that is one thing I wanted to say before we get on with the show. Now, the performance this evening, or the presentation this evening, is 30 Seconds of Insanity, I believe it's called. And it is going to be a little bit of a screen, what do they call them? A slideshow. Yeah, that's what we're going to try. But because she is in a place that doesn't have the best internet, if it doesn't quite work out, we'll go back to talking face to face like this, because that's fun too. But we are going to try the slideshow first. I can speak, really, I can.
Okay.
So I'll let you take it away.
We'll see how we go, people. If it doesn't work, we'll just come back to talking. I think that'll be just as good. Let's see how we go. I'm going to share my screen, so just a bit of a dizziness at the moment. We'll see if that comes up. Start the screen share. Okay. Woo.
There's always that disconcerting moment in the beginning, and there we go. We have it on the screen.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay. As I said, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. My passion is helping people to be able to have the confidence to step up and share their message. So my presentation this morning here in Australia, or this evening over in Canada and America, and wherever we are around the world, is 30 Seconds of Insane Courage. So let's see if we can make this work, and it goes through. One of the things that stops us from getting up and speaking and sharing our message, and especially if we have something that we're very passionate about, it is a fear. And probably that's what's stopping you right now. Many of you will be thinking, oh, I don't want to speak. I'm a bit worried about speaking. I feel awkward. No one's going to listen to me. How do I structure my presentation? How do I put my passion for a cause that I have into something without losing the emotion, but without having that emotion overcome it? If all of these things are what are stopping you, and you may be an introvert, you may be an advocate, you may even be an author, any of those three, then what's stopping you is preventing you from being able to be the best you can and sharing your message with those who need to hear it. So it could be all of that fear, it could be skills, it could be knowledge, it could be expertise, it could be confidence. Now, one of the things that I say to my mentoring clients and people, when they say to me, oh, I can't speak like this, I don't want to do this, I'm a bit worried about it, I say to you, can you actually be that selfish? Yes, I said selfish. And this was something that was brought to my attention, because I'll share my story with you very shortly. But I was actually told that many years ago. And when I say selfish, if you let your lack of skills, your knowledge, expertise, confidence, the fear of being able to get up and speak, that fear that people might find out you don't know everything, and not all of us do, you could be calling yourself selfish, because if you don't get up and share that message with the people who need to hear it, then somewhere in that audience, there could be someone who what you have to say, it could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a paragraph, but that could be what would change their lives, just hearing you say that. And if you have let any of these things, the skill, knowledge, expertise, competence, prevent you from sharing that, then you may have stopped someone from being all that they could be. So it's not about you, it's all about them. So don't be selfish. Don't let any of these things prevent you. Get up and share your message. You could have gone through a hard time. You could have gone through experiences that could be helping someone. You have, as I said, might be an introvert who doesn't like to get out there. You could be an author who's written a book that people need to really hear and see. Or you could be an advocate because of those experiences. Don't be selfish and let any of these things stop you. So how can we move on from here? Well, I'm talking about being an advocate in this particular slide, because an advocate is someone who gets up and speaks about something that they're passionate about. It could be a cause. It could be just your business. It could be a book. It could be a charity that you're looking after. It could be that you have a message that you want to share with everybody. So that's why you need to be able to step up and be successful at doing that. This is my little story, because this is why I'm passionate about mentoring introverts, authors and advocates, because I am an introvert. I know that might be funny, and Patricia might be sitting there saying, she's an advocate, she's an introvert. Yeah, but I have learnt to not be selfish. I've learnt skills and techniques that have allowed me to step up and be the extrovert when I need to share my message with those people. I'm also an author, and I know what it's like as an author to have written that book and have it sitting on shelves, just up on Amazon perhaps, and not realizing that you actually then have to open up that book and share what's in your heart and what's in your book. And I am an advocate. I've been through some things that have life-changing things that have taught me that being able to speak has helped me to get through those. And it showed me how to get up and be the advocate for my business and to help people who need to hear what I have to say. So I've been all of those. I was the perennial wallflower, the person that would just hide, look for the nearest pot plant, the clock and the exit, 10 minutes, and I was out of there. I absolutely detested conferences and meetings. It wasn't really good, and I hated getting up and speaking until, as it was pointed out to me, that I have a story, and we all have stories, and that I can't be selfish and not share my story, because some of those words might just help someone who is listening to me. So some of your words might help someone who's listening to you. So from there, this is what's happened. My speaking skills have allowed me to appear in these particular places in Australia, to be in these papers, to become a multi-international award-winning person, because all of these have allowed me to have the credibility to share my passion and my stories with people. And this is what you need to be able to do. And I've worked with these companies. And some of these companies you may know, some you may not. But they're all companies where I've been able to go in and help them have their courage to step up and share their stories with their teams, with their bosses, with the boardroom, and outside of their work. These are the books that I've written, and having the courage to be able to step up and speak has allowed me to write these books and then share these books with people. So these are things that you need to do if you want to get your message out there and be able to let people know what you're doing and maybe perhaps change people's lives. So I'm going to talk very shortly. I haven't got a huge amount of time, but I could be speaking for ages because of my passion. But we're going to look at first how to overcome the fear of speaking, because obviously that's one of the things that really does stop you. I'm going to talk about being authentic. Now, authentic is when you realize that authenticity, and this is what I've learned over my 20 years of speaking, talking to audiences, talking to fellow speakers. Being authentic is the top thing that audiences relate to for great speakers. So it's as simple as that. Be yourself. Then we're going to look at some structure and then have persuasive power. I'm going to make sure I've got enough time to get through those. So I'm watching the clock there to make sure we get through it as quickly as possible. So fear. Fear, fear, fear. The thing that stops us a lot. That fear is really quite a lot of it, a little mindset, that little voice in our heads that says, I can't do this. Nope, no one's going to listen to me. I don't have a story. People are going to laugh at me. My peers are going to find out that maybe I don't know as much as I think I do. That's that little voice. There's only a small percentage of us that have a true fear that results in the physical symptoms that we can't get up to speak. 98% of us, it's because either the fear of the unknown, that little voice that's stopping us, something that we've done before that didn't work so well, so now we don't really want to do it anymore and it's affecting us. These are all things that you can overcome and be able to share that message with the people who need to hear it. So how do we overcome this fear of speaking? Well, I can spend nearly an hour and a half just speaking about this as well. For today, just some short little tips. When I talk about experience and familiarization, it's true that the mere act of getting up to speak will take away that fear of the unknown. And the more that you get that 30 seconds of insane courage, which is what you need to step up and say those first few words, then the more you become experienced with it, the more comfortable you become. Now, I'm never going to say that you're never going to have nerves, because you need those nerves when you speak, because the nerves are what are going to give you the adrenaline to have that 30 seconds of insane courage and then to connect with your audience and get that message out. Now, you've been hearing me say 30 seconds of insane courage. What does that mean? I'm going to little share with you a bit here because it's all wrapped up in overcoming this fear. It comes from one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie, We Bought a Zoo, but this is a quote by Benjamin Mee from We Bought a Zoo. And it goes, sometimes all you need is just 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery, and I promise you something great will come from it. Now, I call it 30 seconds because that's what I think you need to be able to start speaking. But if you do that 30 seconds and get some of that experience and become familiar with speaking, absolutely brilliant things will come from that. You will find that you now start to have the confidence to speak. So become familiar with speaking, get that experience, find out where you're speaking from, take away that fear of the unknown, and that will slowly help you to overcome that fear of speaking. Preparation and practice, that is something that's going to give you a comfort zone, a foundation to build on. Now, I'm never going to tell you to learn your presentation word for word, because that's where novice speakers fall into a huge trap. They go and learn it word for word, and then if they do have that bit of a stumble and they can't remember the next word, they've forgotten their whole presentation. So when I say preparation and practice, write your speech, read it out, make sure it fits the timing, and then reduce it to dot points, to concepts that you can speak to. And then you'll never be without knowing where you're going to go. I'm going to talk a little bit about structure if we get the time as we go along. Most importantly is that inner self-talk. We all have it. We all have that voice that says, no, you can't do it. No, the floor is going to open up and swallow you. You need to take a deep breath. Recognize it when you hear that negative talk and visualize a big red stop sign. I use a big red stop sign because it says to me, stop, do not go any further. Do not let this negative talk stop you from being all that you can be. Then get rid of that negative talk. Think of a way that turns it up, burns it, washes it away. Whatever you need to do in a visualization, get rid of it and then replace it with the positive in that I am good enough. I have a message. I am going to get up and share what I have, because I can change someone's life. Visualization techniques, ones that top sports people, big speakers, actors, you talk to anybody in their field, they use visualization techniques to overcome and visualize the process that they want. Now, anybody who's into meditation, into anything like that, will know very much about visualization. It's sitting back and thinking and going through your mind and actually seeing yourself giving your presentation, seeing yourself being able to speak about your cause, seeing yourself have the confidence, maybe even just to go up to the school and talk to the teachers about your child. All of this is speaking, and all of this is being confident and sharing what you have. And anybody who knows me and my mentoring clients will know I'm always saying, breathe, just breathe. Blue in the face is not something you want to be when you're trying to be confident and persuade people to your point of view. So two or three deep breaths. Just take it in, hold them, and let them out before you get up to speak, before you go into an interview, before you go into the boardroom, before you go to talk to someone about your passion, if you may be wanting to get someone on board because of a charity that you're representing or a cause that you're representing. Take those 2 or 3 deep breaths. I call it centering. When I take those 2 or 3 deep breaths, and I do all of this every time I'm speaking. I did it this morning here in Australia before I got onto this presentation. I centered myself and calmed myself. It's amazing. Just stopping and taking those deep breaths gives you that feeling of confidence, gives you the energy you need to have those 30 seconds of insane courage. Open your mouth and say those words that are going to get people to move and go and share your message and your passion. So those are just some very quick tips that you can take away this morning. Some things that you can think about, or this evening in Australia, in America, about what you can do to overcome that fear of speaking. Because that's the first step you need to be if you want to be an advocate, if you want to get up and share what's been happening with you, to be able to change people's lives and to give them some input into what they can do for themselves. Now, I said to you that I was going to talk about authenticity. It's one of the top things that come into what audiences and people, when they listen to speakers or listen to people being passionate about what they're doing, this is the top thing that they say that makes a great speaker, it makes a great communicator. And that's being you, being able to be who you are. We hide behind masks when we're not sure and we're vulnerable. When we're afraid of something, we like to pretend that we're someone else. And one of the reasons we do that is because if it doesn't work, then we can fall back and say, oh, well, it wasn't me. It was that person I was pretending to be. Which in the first instance may seem a good thing to do. However, the problem is if you are hiding behind a mask, you can't fool an audience or people. They just know that it's not you. Now, how can they trust your message if you are not being present and being who the person is that's sharing that message? In today's world, people need to like, know, and trust you. Whether they want to buy from you, whether they want to walk with you on your journey, they need to see the person you are. So it takes 30 seconds of insane courage. People, take that mask away. Let them see the person who has that vulnerability, that person who had that issue, who's gone through the challenges that you may have gone through, who's learnt the experiences that you may have learnt. When people see that, then they're more likely to connect with you. People wear masks when they don't prepare. This is why I say one of the things you need to do is prepare. And as I said, not preparing your presentation word for word, but preparing to be there, preparing to be real, preparing to share the emotions that you've felt, preparing to share the experiences and the lessons that you've learned that may change someone who is listening to you. It's hard, I know, but you need to take that courage and absolutely get up there and share who you are with it. Okay. As Oscar Wilde has said, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. So be yourself, people. It's very, very empowering when you can be who you need to be and share what you need to share. Absolutely empowering. Because this is what happens when you take that mask off. When you're genuine, you connect with people, and people will respond to that and feel warm and comfortable and ready to take on board what you want to share in this particular moment. How do you do it? Well, this is what I've been saying. Have the courage to be you. The other thing is, accept not everyone is going to like you. Yes, people, not everyone in the world is going to like you. Not everyone in the world is going to like the message you may be sharing. Not everyone in the world may like the book that you've written. Not everyone in the world may want to hear what you have to say. However, the ones that do will be the ones that you will connect with. And when you can accept that not everyone's going to like you, and it's not personal, it's just that they may not be ready to buy into your cause that you've got. You may have a passion about pets. You might have a passion about looking after the animals in the world. You might have a passion about the trees, the environment. You may have a passion about domestic violence. You may have a passion about looking after and helping people after suicide. You may have a charity that helps people with being able to see better. You might be helping with the doctors abroad. Any one of these things could be something that you are passionate about, but the person that might be next to you is not quite so passionate about. That's okay. When you accept that, it is empowering, and you can share your message with the ones that need to share it and not let those who don't want to actually buy into that affect you, because it's not personal. Let your passion shine. You can get over many mistakes. You don't have to be the most polished speaker in the world. It's okay. If you just let your passion shine, people will accept a lot of things from you and listen and connect with your message. What I do is just help people have that extra skills and techniques to let their passion and message be a little bit easier to understand. But you can do it just by getting up and speaking and being who you are. You can let your passion shine and take you through that 30 seconds of insane courage so that you can be the person that you want to be. Allows you then to make that connection with the audience. You need to share your experiences and stories, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. Have a conversation with your audience. It's just like sitting there and talking. Have a conversation. So if you're talking one-on-one, don't be selfish. Let yourself shine. Let people see who you are. And of course, use open body language and eye contact, because then people can make that connection and see how real you are. Just going to talk a little bit about networking, because if you do have a message, you want to be able to get out there and meet people and speak to them. So very briefly, and I can't go too much into this because it's a whole subject on its own, but I like to talk about, because that's the first place where you start to share your message. So remember, when you're out there, you don't sell your message, you share your passion for your cause. You share the pain or the problem that you want to help people with. You build relationships, because remember, like, know and trust. You make quality connections, you take the time to know others, and you make sure that your body language and eye contact are congruent with the message you are going to be. If you're speaking to someone, having a conversation, whether at a meeting or at a conference, or whether it's just a client that you've just met, or even just someone that you want to talk to, Be in the moment, be present, concentrate on them, because then they know that you think it's important to speak to them and they'll be ready to listen to you. We may have to do introductions at a network meeting, or when we meet someone at a conference, or when we're just telling people what we do or what we're passionate about. So make sure they're powerful, they're concise, and they're memorable. Short, to the point, but not selling. Talking about issues, talking about the pain. It's all about your story. It's all about where you've come from. People will relate more to stories than they will to facts and figures and statistics. Yes, we need to put facts and figures and statistics when we're being passionate and what we want to do, but it's more the stories that people will connect with. And I think that's because it goes right back in times past. The storyteller was a very important person in the tribe or the clan. That was the person who passed on the tribe's histories, their culture, their laws by stories. And we used to listen to the stories and understand what we had to do. So it's sort of bred into us that when people start to share a story, we stop, sit up and listen. Wow, that sounds like something that I'm experiencing or that I've been through. I need to talk to that person because they've obviously been through what I have. So share your stories. And we've got research that says this is what happens. People are attracted to stories because we're social creatures and we relate to other people. That's from Johns Hopkins University. So I have people about this time who are usually looking at me and saying, but I don't have any stories. Mm-hmm. Everybody does. It doesn't matter what you've done in your life. You may not think they're stories, but when you start talking to people and share some of the things that you've done, people then will say, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that. You've done something amazing. We have to step outside ourselves to see that. I know that for a long time, I didn't think I had any stories. No stories at all. I thought to say, how can I speak to people? How can I mentor people and help them to speak? I've just had an ordinary life. I've just done ordinary things. I went and studied at university over 6 years part-time, but doesn't everybody do that? I've worked with male-dominated industries in travel, in energy, and I've worked as a manager of a memorial gardens, but doesn't everybody do that? Well, no, not everybody does it. Just to share one of my stories, which was one of a pivotal point in my life. In 2007, we lost our son to suicide. And that is one of the pivotal areas of my life where I realized speaking skills can help you be an advocate, can help you get through crisis situations. And I didn't ever realize that. It took me, many years after to realize, well, if I share that story with people, people then understand that they do have the courage to get up and speak about their stories. I've gone through breast cancer. I thought that was just something that you had to get through. It was not a big story. I had a really good result of it. But one of the things out of that was that I'm very passionate about early screening because that's what helped me have a really good result. Without my speaking skills, I wouldn't have been able to go and do a video testimonial for them and be up on their website as a testimony to early screening. These are stories you don't realize. There may be stories that you've got with you, but you don't know how to share them. This is what having speaking skills and having those 30 seconds of insane courage will help you. It could be just that you get through life looking after your children. And you think, well, doesn't everybody do that? Well, no, people, not everybody does. For some people, it could be a very hard life to do that. And when they listen to your stories and what you do, they can realize there are things they can put into their place that might make them have an easier life. So think about your stories. So I've probably gone off a bit on that because I'm very passionate about stories because I know how long it was before I realized and I had to get belted over the head and pushed and people really talking to me to realise that I had stories that people might want to relate to. My big story is overcoming my fear of speaking and being able to do what I do now. That's a story that most people need to hear, but I never realised it for a very, very long time. You may get asked questions. And when you're being an advocate, or if you do get up and when you get up there and you're speaking, people are going to ask you questions. You may want to appear on media. You might have the radio stations call you. You might have print journalists ring you up and say, look, you know, wow, what's happening? You've got a story. You might even have to appear on TV. So then you need to know how to answer some impromptu questions so that you don't freeze completely. So very briefly, I'm going to go through something that I use to help you. This is the steps I use. Firstly, don't panic, breathe. Easy to say, I know, but if someone suddenly throws a question at you, it can be quite disconcerting. Listen all the way through. We, as a race, in most cases, don't like silence. So when someone starts to ask us a question, our brain kicks in and we start thinking about the answer and opening our mouth so we can answer it very quickly. And we could easily end up answering the wrong question, the one we thought we heard. So allow yourself to be present and concentrate and listen all the way through to that question. If you're not sure, clarify. It's better to clarify than to answer something that wasn't really what they wanted to know. Take your time and think. You can do a lot of thinking inside that head before, and it doesn't really seem like a lot of time has passed for those who are waiting for you to answer. And it really is quite good if you can give some concerted thought and concentrated thought to what you're going to say. People will appreciate that. They'll think that you are giving due testament to the question and will allow you that space to think about what you want to say. And then you answer it. And this is how you answer it. Point, reason, example, point. That's my formula. It's called PREP. This is your main idea. This is the reason why I think it's relevant. These are some examples, your stories, and this is the point. It keeps you on track. It's very concise. It stops you waffling. And that last point stops you from going any further, and then you stop and you stop speaking. So my goal to you today, if people ask you questions, whether it's someone in the media, it's someone in your audience, a client that you're working with, your teenager, your partner, anybody, think about PREP. Think about, and this is the way you structure your answer. So how do we persuade others to our point of view? Because that's what we're wanting to do when we're looking at being an advocate for our message. There's a difference between informing your audience and persuading them. You can give them facts, figures, statistics, all the things that. You can even do case points and stories. When you're doing persuading, that's where the stories come in. Because the stories will allow you to persuade them. It's where you also need to come in with what we call balancing the communication. You have to have two parts to it. There's the intellectual component and the emotional connection. Now, the intellectual component is your facts and your stories and things that you can have. All those. The emotional connection is how you present it, what's in it for them. So, intellectual component, facts, figures, logical arguments, reasonable conclusions. The emotional connection makes you credible and believable in connecting with the listener. Now, they don't have to be in equal parts. Because I have people saying, oh my God, how can I do that? Sometimes your presentation might require more intellectual component. So it will need more facts and figures. Sometimes it's going to be more the emotional connection because it's more persuasive. But if you don't have both components, you're going to lose your audience. We've due apologies to professors who may be listening, or if you've been to lectures and things like that. A lot of lecturers will do this, unfortunately. They're very good at giving you facts and figures and logical arguments. They will dump all that information on you. But there's not much that says, well, what's in it for me? Why should I do this other than maybe passing my exams? And so they just dump the information. Then there are those who are really great motivational people, and they're really great at connecting with the audience, and you go and listen to them, and they've got all that emotion. They have you in the palm of their hands. Then you walk out and you think, yes, I'm going to do this, and you realize they've actually not told you how to do it. They haven't given you any of the intellectual components, the call to action, the process or the formula or whatever it is that they want you to use to actually change what they've been asking you to change. So you do need components of both to, what I say, be really credible communicator or speaker. When you're influencing your listeners, this is after you've got your 30 seconds of insane courage and you're really up there now and you've got them listening. You want to inspire them. You want to convince them, and you want to give them a call to action to do something. You need to excite them so that they'll take you with them, take them with you on the journey. You want to change their opinions, especially if you're being an advocate for a cause, charity, or you've got a really passionate message, or even for your business. You want to change their opinions so that they come along with you. And you must give them a call to action so they know what to do to change that, to connect with you, or to go out there and support the cause that you are being an advocate for. So when we're doing inspirational communication, we need to think it through very carefully. What do you want them to do? What are the benefits would they get? How can you appeal to their motivational factors? And then you need to tell them. So you need to think very carefully, because every time you speak to a group, it'll be slightly different. Your audience may be slightly different. Your client may be slightly different. If you're going into pitch to get some fundraising, the business that you're pitching to will be slightly different. So you need to think about, well, what do I need to do with this particular company that will get them on board with my fundraising? What are the benefits they're going to get? What are the motivational factors I can appeal to? So then you make it effective. And you might see that prep is in the middle there, because it actually not only helps you with answering questions, it helps you with structuring your presentations. And when it's inspiration, you'll make it personal at the beginning. Then you go through your points, your reasons, your stories, your proof to ensure they understand it, and you make it personal at the end. Because inspiration communication has to be personal for people to understand and connect. If you're doing a fundraising or you want people to be with you on your message, you've got to make it personal. You've got to make it them to realize why they should buy into what you are saying. Words have power, and body language. This is all about how you connect with people and make that emotional connection. You have a voice, you need to use it. And that means you need to be clear. You need to have the courage to step up. You need to know how to use the power of your voice, to speak softly, to speak loudly, to speak fast, to speak slow. What sort of voice do you have? Is it a natural conversational voice? Do you maybe have a loud voice that you might have to soften a bit? Or maybe you have a very soft voice that you might have to use and practice to speak a bit louder. Your voice is powerful. Use it to connect with your people. Transform your thinking. Yes, I know public speaking is scary. Yes, I know it's hard to be authentic. Yes, I know just what it's like to be worried that people might not like you, might not like your message. But when you transform your thinking and you have 30 seconds of insane courage, don't let all the skills, lack of knowledge, experience, competence, don't let any of that stop you. Grab your 30 seconds of courage, step up and share the story that is hidden inside you, and share it with those people out there, because don't be selfish. The people that you share that story with, it's going to change their lives. I absolutely know that. It may only be one word, but if you don't actually get up and share that word, how can you do it? So that's the end of my presentation. I'll get out of here now and we'll see if we've got any questions. There we go. Oops, so go back up.
And I don't see that we do have any questions that have come in. But one thing that I did want to comment on is that, hello, lovely to see you again.
I hope that was okay. Did you actually see the slides okay?
I saw it perfectly on my end. I'm not sure. Nobody's complained out in the audience, so it must be going okay there, that, or they've given up on us, and there's not much I can do about that. But nobody's let me know that they were having problems watching. But one thing that you did talk about early in the presentation was about being an introvert. And the one thing that really surprises me that people don't seem to get about the whole introvert and extrovert thing. It is not really about that personality that is willing to talk or not willing to talk. Both types, introvert and extrovert, can absolutely get out there and share their messages, and they all do, as you said, have messages to share. But being an introvert and an extrovert is more about where you get your energy from. I'm an extrovert. I go out and get energy by being around the other people. When I'm in those networking experiences, or I'm going out and I'm around those people, that's what gets me juiced up and energized. For my introvert friends, they go into those situations and they need time to decompress afterwards, because that sucks their energy from them. So it's more a matter of knowing which you are, so that when you are in that situation, that you baby yourself before and afterwards if you're an introvert. And that if you are one of those people like me who gets really juiced up by those things, that you have an understanding with your introvert friends that you're not trying to drive them crazy. You just really are that juiced up.
Oh, look, absolutely agree. Because as I said, I am an introvert and I still am. But I'm able to get up and speak, and my passion is sharing. But I get my energy by withdrawing and needing that time to myself, to center myself and to just get my energy back. In fact, a lot of introverts make absolutely brilliant speakers, because they can harness that passion. They know what they want to say. They spend the time getting themselves ready. And when they come out from behind there and they're ready to connect with their audience, they do it full on 100%, give all of that energy, because then they can know they can go back and, as you said, then get re-energized backwards. And so when I speak to introverts and get them to realize that it's quite easy to do it in short bursts, then go back and be who they need to be and get the energy back, they become brilliant speakers. Extroverts are so used to going out there and converting. I'm not saying that extroverts don't make great speakers. Of course, there are some good speakers there, but they're used to expending that energy. And sometimes with the extroverts, what I've got to do is get them to actually bring that energy back a bit and structure it more, because they need to do that more structure so that they can be more purposeful with their speaking. They're so great with, like, that's where they go. The energy is there and they connect with people. They want to really do it. But when they're doing a presentation, they've got to be a little bit more structured and bring it in a bit more focused. So with them, it's pulling the energy in a bit, structuring it a bit, and being focused for that time. So both good speakers, but introverts, you make great speakers. And I know I'm an introvert.
Exactly. You're an introvert, and my challenges as an extrovert are more towards keeping on time, because that's one thing that I've struggled with since my first I did my first presentation back in Basic Business 20, which was, so I was in grade 10 and I was in this class, Basic Business 20, and they assigned us to do a presentation. It was supposed to take a certain amount of time. I think it was supposed to take 10 minutes. And I ended up taking the entire class just because it just kept on going and going and going, and I didn't know where to stop. And of course, nobody else in the class was going to stop me, because they didn't want me. They were like more than willing to let me take up all the time so that they didn't have to be the one in front. But that was the first time I realized, A, that I love speaking, and B, that I do have an issue with talking too much. And that's one thing that I love about Toastmasters, and with the timing, and with being aware of how long it takes to speak effectively. and
Yeah.
understanding the cadence of words and how many words you can fit into 5 minutes without sounding out of breath at the end.
That's right. That's why I say preparation and practice in hoping to overcome that fear, and why it's important to do some preparation and practice, even though I don't want you to memorize your whole presentation. But the idea is to work out the timing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've worked out what you want to say and you work it out due to the timing, one of the mistakes that most people will do is if they've been told they've got 30 minutes to speak, they will prepare for a 30-minute presentation, and immediately they've got a problem because it's nearly 100% certain they're going to go over time. Once you actually start out there to speak with people, you interact with the audience, it goes a lot longer than you thought. So if you've got a 30-minute presentation, I say prepare for 20 minutes. Gives you enough allowance then to go a little bit more if you interact. And then if you finish early, you've got time for questions. And then if there's no questions, you've got time to finish early and everybody's going to love you anyway. But it's much better to finish early and be concise and get everything you want over than to go over time and have people forget half of what you were going to say because they've started to turn off and switch off. And then you've annoyed the people who've organised it, you've annoyed your audience, and you've annoyed the people who are coming after you.
Absolutely. There's a lot of annoyances that you can be as a speaker.
If you're going to speak,
absolutely. And there's always things that come up when you are in a speaking situation. But some of this doesn't necessarily have to be applied to getting up in a public place and speaking. It could be as simple as standing up in an organization, say, for your children's school, where they're debating what to buy for children's equipment, or going to the library board meeting when they are ordering in the new books and you have a chance to make your opinion known there. Speaking skills can transcend all of life. It's not just about speaking in public. And I think that that's an important thing to remember too, is that just because we love speaking in public and being in front of the room, there are 1,001 other uses to utilize public speaking that don't necessarily have to be that front of the room type experience.
This is what I say to my clients. It's while I can help you speak in front of a room or speak from the stage or speak to audiences, for me, my passion is the actual journey. I think the journey you take when you get public speaking skills, it gives you the confidence to do anything else you want to do in your life. And the techniques and the tips and the strategies that you learn on that journey, they translate to your business, they translate to your personal life. So for me, it's the confidence. It's knowing how to be able to, as you said, if you're going into a meeting and you don't like what's being said, or you want to get your point across, that's the confidence to be able to get up and do it concisely, coherently, and competently. And it's very valuable for that. One of the books that I've contributed to is Parenting a Child on the Spectrum. It's about a compilation of people who are sharing stories about their children in autism or ADHD. And for them, the speaking skills that I share for them, it's being able to be an advocate for their child and to be able to speak sometimes when their child can't speak. So it's not audiences for them. It's being able to go to the school and sit down at a round table without all that emotion and harness it and be able to get the best outcome for the children. So it's all of that. It's not just, in fact, for me, sometimes the speaking from the stage part for my clients is a small component. It's everything else.
Absolutely. And that is one of those important things to remember, is that this is it's all interrelated, isn't it? These skills that we get, whether they're from speaking or whether they're in other ways, they help us in so many other ways. It's not just, and I guess it's because we don't live in a little bubble. It's not like we can just, okay, I'm going to put this on this area of my life and it's going to work just over here. It spreads into everything else. We're one big...
It underpins everything you do in life, being able to communicate clearly, to be able to speak what's in your heart and to do it with structure with passion and holistically, it underpins everything you do.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when it comes to some of those more emotional issues, when you have some practice in speaking and speaking clearly, it can help you from getting into that angry and irate stage that can shut down all communication.
It is. It comes very much with communicating for conflict and being able to negotiate. And all of that are speaking skills, and they all play a part in being able to harness that. When you really care about something and you're really emotional about it, it's really hard sometimes to structure that. You need to keep the emotion, but you need to be able to also be able to share the words and to structure it so that people get the meaning behind it, but you don't lose that emotion. Too emotion, and people just, oh, she's emotional about that, or he's emotional. It's we're not going to listen because they're just ranting. But you need to be able to rant with purpose.
I love that, rant with purpose. And that is so much of the communication that we're trying to do throughout the Free to Fly online conference by delivering information that is relevant and timely. You know that you can use this stuff that Trish just shared there with to improve your life. I mean, really, when you start to concentrate and use these skills, use the prep that she talked about and apply it to some of those, and you will start to notice a difference in how people are relating to you as well. One of the beauties of good communication skills is that it starts to affect the people around you as well. So, I mean, that's just a nice bonus.
Right. If you communicate well, people understand what you're saying. You take away a lot of that miscommunication, which not only affects bottom line and productivity in business, but it affects your relationships with other people. So if you can be clear and concise, then they appreciate that. They can be clear and concise. And I guess the other thing I said about understand that not everybody will like you, it becomes very empowering, because it takes that emotion out of it. It's not so personal, and you can just accept, okay, they have a different point of view. They don't understand what I'm saying, or they don't want to be part of what I'm saying, and that's perfectly okay, because there are others that do. And you don't get that emotional response to it, which is the only thing that you have absolute control over. It's one of my other favourite quotes, is yourself. You are the only person that can make the choices, change your attitude, how you respond to people. It's you. And if you control how you respond and your attitude and your communication, then other people then can see exactly who you are, and you don't buy into that, because you know what you're doing. You control your responses, your attitude, your choices. You have the choice to do whatever you want to do, whether it's 30 seconds of insane courage or to just sit down and not share.
Exactly. And it is a choice in the very end. So we are running up at about 6 minutes before the end of the hour here. And it doesn't look like we have any questions. So I think that we're going to do what you suggested we do and wrap up a little bit early tonight, or tomorrow morning, as it is for you in your time zone. You're dealing with Monday morning, and I'm dealing with Sunday evening. But it's beautiful that we can get together as